Here's what happened. The Burnout Beast scored a big momentum goal. And it's a moment to take a deep breath in. I don't want to rush this here for getting into it, but take a deep breath in through the nose and then release that on out through the mouth. You can't even shake it out. Get a vibe. We're going to go to two more of these, get two more going to help you to come back into the present moment. And then release it on out. You can make a sound if you like. Oh, yeah. Got my arms up. I got one more. Deep inhale. And then release. All right. The feeling could be the stress holiday hangover. Christmas just happened. I was spending time with my life partner's family where you had those moments that you could appreciate and you're grateful for, and then you just had the unexpected challenges that come your way. Those moments where the stress hits you for the response, and then your body goes into whatever stress response it is, fight, flight, the fawn, the freeze, and then you have that adrenaline, that cortisol pumping into the body. And then all of a sudden you're able to have these moments of calm that can come up where, especially right now, post Christmas, that's coming up for me of like, now I have a moment to get back on track with my burnout proof habits that were energizing for me and that helped me to recharge. I wasn't able to get to all of them. So now it's a moment for me of I got to decide, am I going to continue down this path of hitting burnout because the burnout beast scored the goal? Or am I going to make a change, show up differently for myself, and be able to get back on track with these burnout proof habits? These habits that energize you, that help you to recharge, as simple as making sure you're staying hydrated, getting a certain amount of water in, making sure you're eating foods that are nourishing for you, especially thinking about the holidays. That cannot happen for a lot of us, where you're eating stuff that is not supporting and nourishing for your body. Then it could be you didn't get outside enough. That was the big one for me during the holidays, was I didn't get outside enough as I wanted to. Usually on average, I try to get 4 hours of outside time. So now it's a moment to reset, right? And there's this phrase that I want to share with you that has helped me during the really hard times in life, because it could be the holidays. It could be just another challenge that you're facing right now that's coming up and you're really feeling like you need to show up differently for yourself. So I'm fired up for you to be here and to go into this one phrase to help you with that. This is Make Burnout Extinct. I'm Robert David Weeks. Before getting into it, I want to say thank you for listening. I don't take it for granted. Like I know there could be a lot of different things you could be doing right now. So I super appreciate that you're here. I'm pumped to be able to deliver it to you for today's conversation with you. And if you haven't done it yet, you can subscribe and follow the show for the latest episodes, because my commitment to you by you doing that is to continue to make this the best show it can be and to grow the show. And it's been amazing to witness already that growth, but to continue on that journey. And this really does help with that. And then I'll continue to focus on becoming a better storyteller for you and a better researcher for the information I'm sharing with you, as well as a better interviewer for the guests that are coming on to share their insights, all focus on this mission of Make Burnout Extinct. So I appreciate you. Thank you for being a part of this movement, and so fucking excited to dive into it. Today, I want to talk about how you can show up differently for yourself. And it's this one phrase that is super powerful. And that phrase is, if you can do it here, you can do it anywhere. I'm going to let that one sink. If you can do it here, you can do it anywhere. Take a moment to notice actually where that comes up in your body when you hear that. So you could hear it. I think for me, when I do that, I'm actually going to say it one more time and determine where I connect with it. If I can do it here, I can do it anywhere. For me, it's between the head, and then I also feel it in my gut. It might be because I'm having this conversation with you right now, where I'm getting both of those going. But where do you notice that? Because there could be resistance to hearing that phrase, or you could feel like it sinks into your soul. And right there in the stomach, the gut, it could be one, or the heart. And it's important to remember what this phrase means. And I want to get into the meaning of it. I want to connect it back to burnout so you can recognize how this connects, and then go through some important principles to hold on to, as well as some additional bonus affirmations that you can connect to that can support this one phrase. Because this phrase, what it reminds us of is that life is temporary. You think about that. There's only a certain amount of time as of now with this recording for this conversation. It could be different in a few decades. It gets me hopeful of our lifespan. It's going to come to an end, right? And even that would be another question for another time is like, would you want to live forever? But right now, getting into it, life is temporary. And within our life, we have moments that are temporary. You can think back in your own journey, like those moments where you felt intense stress that came up in life. Did it pass? Did it lessen? Did it expand? Did it get more intense, less intense? Like you can show us that life is temporary for how we feel and navigate it, as well as the challenges that we're facing. We're not facing the exact same challenge from when we started at a young age to where we are now. Like there is a variety of challenges that we face along the way, not just one, but multiple ones. And with that, we get to decide how we show up to those challenges and how we face them. And there is moments that can come up where you can feel the doubt. And if you are someone right now that is feeling that doubt, that uncertainty, which can cause the anxiety to build up of what your future is going to look like, of how the hell you're going to get out of this current situation that you're in, if that's financially feeling that's really tough right now financially for you, to how you feel for the responsibilities and obligations in your work, because I know you're someone that wants to take care of everyone else, but you cannot forget about you and making sure that you are taking the time to recharge and to energize yourself with your burnout proof habits so that you can continue to make burnout extinct in your life and not be dragged by the burnout beast towards hitting burnout. And it goes back to like, there is still time on the clock with this game of life. Or it could be when it comes to your health. Like you've been trying to stay consistent with the workouts or getting the right foods in for you that are nourishing for you. And it just seems like there's this stop-start process going on right now. So then you're thinking, okay, am I just never going to get this right when it comes to permanently making changes in my life? So coming back to this phrase, when you can say, if I can do it here, I can do it anywhere, it can really help you in those tough and challenging times to realize that you can reconnect with a strength and a potential within us that can feel endless. And it's a reminder of one principle I want to get into first with you, and that is the principle of immense potential. This was shared to me by John Butcher, someone I consider a mentor, and I've talked about him before. What it states, I'm going to like paraphrase it, but it states that we have more potential within us than we could ever develop in our lifetime. And where true fulfillment comes from is being on the path of developing our potential. What I connect to that is that it's about the journey, not the destination. Being able to create a appreciation, even if it's in those really, really tough moments, just acknowledging like you stepping up and moving through this and moving through the shit it can feel like in those moments where you're just like, oh, like, dude, like this fucking sucks. But I appreciate, like, I'm grateful that I'm able to show up and like I'm continuing to move forward. I can celebrate that for myself. It's remembering that it is always about the process. Like there's always going to be problems that you're going to face. There's always going to be challenges, but you get to be able to handle them in a different way. You're being able to learn the lesson from the mistakes that you make in life, and then you can let go of those mistakes and then start applying that into your life. And this phrase coming back into it of, if you can do it here, you can do it anywhere, creates this connection to that potential within you, because there is an endless amount of potential. Like we are capable of so much more than we can think of in these moments, and especially in the challenging moments where you feel defeated. Those are the moments where things get really hard. Like just getting out of bed and continuing on your day-to-day tasks become even more difficult. You can feel this resistance that comes up from the body and this tension and this pressure of like pushing against an imaginary wall where things just become so much harder to show up for. What's important in those moments is to give yourself grace. You're not going to be perfect because perfection doesn't exist, but you can still show up and put those reps in for these burnout proof habits that you've been working on. Because as I've talked about with burnout and bringing it back to burnout, you have this spectrum where every day you decide where you land on the spectrum, where on one end, you've made burnout extinct, and then on the other end, you've hit burnout. And it's your habits, those behaviors that you're doing repeatedly, that decide where you land on that spectrum. So the more habits that are helping you, that are your burnout proof habits that energize you and help and recharge you, the more you have of those that you're doing, the one, better off you are of making burnout extinct rather than hitting burnout. And then two, the more momentum then you build in your life in order to move towards the vision you have for your life of who it is you want to become, the goals you set out, those goals that you might be even afraid to tell anyone else, that you know deep down you connect to, you have those moments of being able to connect to them. You're able to create that momentum and move forward of like, oh yeah, that dream is possible. It doesn't just have to be a dream. And I'm going to pause right there. I'm going to take a moment. We're actually going to go back to the deep breaths here. I want to do 3 with you. And I want you to take a moment to reconnect to that vision of who you have for yourself, of who it is you want to become, of how you want to show up, and be able to connect to that. So take a deep breath in and then release it on out. Remembering to repeat, if you can do it here, you can do it anywhere. Take a moment to think about that in your mind as you take a deep inhale in. I know there's a little multitasking going on here. And release out. Not to try to cause more overwhelm for you, but take a moment to think about that phrase. Another deep inhale. Oh, yeah. And release. It's remembering what you're capable of. And it's remembering that with this saying of like, if I can do it here, I can do it anywhere, with that phrase, it doesn't mean it's going to be an incredible and amazing experience, depending on the situation you're in. If that's with your finances, to your living arrangements right now, to how you're dealing with it, the situations at work, with your partner, with family, with friends, with your communication, to yourself, and the mental chatter that's going on. It doesn't mean that it's going to be like this incredible ease and comfort and calming feeling. But what it will do is it will help make it a little bit easier to show up for yourself and to continue to move forward in making progress and building momentum in your life. And then from there, it just continues to build and build and build on top of itself. And having these type of phrases to help anchor you back into realizing what you're fucking capable of can help so much during those hard times. And it actually does a few cool things when it comes to burnout. So one is that when you create that, so basically it goes back to this other principle I want to share, because when you create that connection with yourself, you're becoming present with the situation that you're in. And by being present, you can then connect back to your body. And you can notice even different where you're feeling the tension and where you're feeling the pressure in your body when you say that phrase. And it can then remind you for clarity of what it is that isn't working right now in your life. Being able to take a moment to write that out when you say this is helpful, because then you get to say, okay, I haven't, like the morning workouts, it's not happening right now. I have, if it's family, having to deal with family or having situations that come at work, I always miss it then. So, okay, let me change the time. But your presence back to your body and noticing those pressures and those tensions then causes messages to come forward, like these truths that you get to discover about yourself of, oh yeah, I got to switch this habit with working out, or I really got to change how I communicate with myself internally, where instead of saying I'm super like lazy in a negative way, just realize, hey, I naturally want things to be efficient. So what can I make changes towards to help support me in continuing to show up easier for these habits that can feel difficult at first, like a workout, but actually feels really, it can feel energizing after I do them. And it leads me into this other principle, which for the name, it's the principle of increased entropy. And how I relate that to, for paraphrasing it, is that your systems over time disorganize. And it can go into this feeling of chaos. So it's similar to a plant that needs water in order to survive and needs you to water it. If you're not watering it, it will eventually die. And that's where the system's disorganized. For the body, the human body, there are certain nutrients that we're going to need in order to continue to function and move forward in this life. Thinking back to hydration, the importance of staying hydrated, of being able to breathe oxygen in to the body. Because if not, then we can break down. Our human bodies can break down. So because of that, you can remember that naturally with the challenges that you're facing and the obligations that you have for your life, if that's bills that you're needing to pay, responsibilities with family, like there are going to be challenges that naturally can cause you to move towards hitting burnout, right? That's where you feel the stress response happen within your body. And as I've reminded you before, your body is like a balloon. It can fill up with a certain amount of the overwhelm, of the anxiety that you can feel, and of this pressure and tension. But there is a certain point where, like the balloon, it pops. The body is going to hit burnout. And it's going to respond in that way if you aren't listening to the signals that are trying to tell you, hey, make changes to your habits so that you can move towards making burnout extinct and change your behaviors. And like a balloon, that's where you can release stress feeling that comes up for you, and be able to continue to move forward with momentum in your life. It's not about stress completely getting rid of it, because you're going to experience problems in life. In the modern age that we live in, there are challenges that you're going to be faced with. But you think back to like 1,000 years ago, though there was problems then, not the same problems that are now, but different problems back then. It could go back to the basic human needs of trying to figure out shelter back then for you, to figuring out how the hell you're going to figure out food if you're in an environment where you're out there having to go and hunt for your food. Or if you have your farm there, how then are you going to take care of all the crops if all of a sudden you have this storm that sweeps through and destroys your entire crops? Or let's say if you're in a place where there's a lot of war that's happening, how are you going to stay safe? Like those are challenges, and the body has been able to create responses to those stressful moments of how you then move forward. And in this modern age, we do have those different challenges, but there has been this thing that comes up where you think you have to get rid of stress completely. And what comes up for me is that I feel we're just not familiar with the difference between when we are in a stressful state and then when we're not. It almost feels unnatural to be in a calm, rest and relax state for the nervous system, which I've talked about before, the parasympathetic nervous system. But what I want to tell you is that you can go between both of those. And this phrase, coming back to if you can do it here, you can do it anywhere, can be something to lean on during those hard times. Because for me, with this phrase, it helped me in so many different situations. It helped me when it came to negative bank accounts that I had. And I had to rely on my parents when I had moved back in with my parents in my 20s to financially support me. And it was after my burnout that happened in 2018. And then having to rely on my life partner when my business was struggling and I was trying to figure out what the hell I was going to do. But I leaned on, if I can do it here, I can do it anywhere, of like having to connect back to the motivation to go out there and say, this is not the situation I want to be in. I want to be a provider. I want to be someone that can be a protector, that can be someone that others can lean on. And so I have to show up differently and I have to move forward and do this thing. And especially thinking of living situations, like there were certain living situations I did not like and did not want to be in that were really hard. One I think about is moving back in with your parents as a 20-something-year-old when you've been gone for so long. Like that can feel really defeating and frustrating and angry. And there's going to be a lot of shame around that to even talk about that because you want to look like you have everything perfect and all together. But when I leaned on that phrase of if I can do it here, I can do it anywhere, it connected back to I am able to get out of this situation. This is temporary. This is not going to be my permanent reality. And then from there, you can start to figure out the answers of what are the changes that you've got to make to continue to move forward. I then have 3 other affirmations I want to share with you that could be helpful on top of this one phrase. The first one I want to share with you, and these were 3 that I repeated daily for a long time after my burnout. They were things that really helped me to connect back to my internal confidence and helped that to grow. And when I put in more reps with these habits, that's what helped to continue to grow my confidence within me. So the first one is that I am loved and worthy always. It's something that you can give to yourself internally. I mean, as a human being, the odds of you being born is like 1 in 400 trillion. You're a beautiful gift in this world. And within that, you have so much potential and capability within you, ready to be shared with the world. And you get to decide to tap back into that. And I mean, you're made of stardust. That's the other thing that's so cool. You're made of stardust. You are absolutely capable of being able to move through what can feel like a permanent reality and move through it onto the next chapter of your life. And reminding yourself that you can create that love and worthiness for you. And this affirmation helps to become that reminder. And I go back to this quote from Eric Edmeades, a mentor of mine, which states that, how he stated it was like, if you can't, I'll paraphrase it a bit actually. It's like, if you can't believe in the vision they have for your life, then doubt your doubts. And that hits so hard because in the challenging moments that you're being faced with, it can be really hard to like think in that way of my vision and this big, awesome, cool thing. Like it can feel super overwhelming and actually just cause you to move faster towards hitting burnout and going through those 3 red flags of burnout, which is the first one, chronic exhaustion. Second one is this negativity you can feel in your work or your personal life or the world, outlook on the world. And then third is performing terribly in your work or in your relationships or for your health and fitness. The second affirmation that I repeated to myself was that I am safe in my mind and the rest of my body. Even though in those really intense moments with the challenges, it may be hard to differentiate between what feels like safety to you and what doesn't. But by repeating this, I was able to start to create a belief within myself whenever I would show up and put the reps in and notice within my body when I felt more relaxed, right? I was able to come back into my presence because this was that reminder to notice, okay, when do I feel safe? What does the body feel like? Tension? Where do I feel less pressure? What's going on in my stomach? Like what's going on with my arms? Like it's able to come back into presence and be able to realize that you are safe in the moment. You can acknowledge that if you're in a room, even right now listening to this thing, as I am like recording this for you, I'm in this room and I'm like, I'm safe. There's no immediate threat that I look around. And so therefore I can tell myself in this moment, I am safe in my mind and my rest of my body. And letting that sink in. The third one I want to share with you is that I am accepting of all of me. There could be certain parts that you are scared to share with other people of your personality and who you are. And that can actually cause more stress to build up in our bodies. Or not, the stress response happens, but then all of a sudden you're getting pumped with the cortisol and the adrenaline hormones, and that's where it can feel like things are filling up within the body, that pressure, that tension, and you're like focused in for your attention to the situation at hand. But that could be caused because internally we don't want people to find out about us, about certain things that we're hidden away. I know for me, I have my goofy side, silly side. I like to just make weird noises and I'm just like, woo, like that's my best attempt actually right now to do that for you. But you could talk to my life partner more about it, where it's just like, she has this saying where she's like, she'll be like, you're weird. And I'm like, yes, I am weird. And it's just, it's like a cool thing that we have where I'm able to realize I can be myself around her. And then I can be myself around other people. They may not agree with it. They may not, they may judge it. They may actually get mad about it, but I still have that ability to do that. I have that within me, the capabilities to do that and show up in that way. But first I got to accept all parts of me. And this was a great affirmation to reconnect with internally those things that I'm scared to share with other people. And it comes back to then that one phrase, because then I would say, if I can do it here, I can do it anywhere. That helped me to step in and share truly how I was feeling with my parents and showing them that I'm not a perfect human being, but I am me. And then it helped me to have the conversation with that person that I'd known all my life to say, hey, I don't like you, and which the delivery could have been better, but I was like, I don't like the behavior that you're doing. I don't support that. And I was able to share that. I was able to then be my goofy, weird self with whenever it's playing music, like I'd sing in the shower randomly, or with music playing, I'd like just sing if I really liked the song. And I was scared to do that in the past. But it goes back to like, if I can do it here, I can do it anywhere. And it helped me to continue to grow and move forward in my life. I want to remind you that I absolutely believe in you. You're capable as a human being to be able to make a change in how you show up for yourself. And especially as the next few weeks unfold, months, the years, you can come back to this phrase as that reminder of what you are capable of as a human being, the potential that's within you, and being able to realize you can step into that. You can make those changes for yourself. And in so doing that, you can help to stick with those burnout proof habits in your life so that you are continuing to make burnout extinct. And not every day is going to be perfect, but you can get back on track. And this phrase can be that reminder for you. You got this. If you like this episode, please don't forget to leave a rating or review for this podcast and help get this message out and make burnout extinct. And you can share what resonates with you from this episode by connecting with me on Instagram or LinkedIn. Thank you for taking the time to listen. I don't take that for granted ever. And I'm so excited to reconnect again soon.